Okay, you guys are muted. So the Maamar is explaining Echad as the memutza between Yochid and Voed. So explain the Aleph and Ches, and explain that both refer to Chachma. However, Aleph is Chachma in its first embryonic stage, and Ches is Chachma Hagluya, a manifested Chachma, and hence Ches officially you're on twice, by the way. So Ches is Chachma Hagluya, is manifested Chachma, and hence in Ches is already a structure of upper and lower, as the meaning of, the Gemara says, the letter Ches, the 7 heavens and Oretz, 8. So there's Mail and Mata, because there's already some kind of structure in Chachma Hagluya as opposed to Chachma in its first expression. Now, Dalet. Now, all of this, of course, is the Memutze Echad, which is the Memutze which reveals, by which Hashem reveals his truth of Yochid to creation, whose world at best is Voed. Voed is Yichud Tator, the starting point being the self. But the Kavanah is that we, our starting point of consciousness, of existence, our starting point is Mitzius. I am, that this I am should know that the Eibishter is, in the truth of that. And so the Memutza, which is whole Maamar, is explaining at length, the intermediary to reveal that truth is Hashem's manifestations through Aleph, Ches, and Dalet. Now we're up to Dalet. Okay, we're just starting. I'm sorry, yeah, I know. Vinyan is Dalet to B'chinas HaMalchus. So Dalet in general goes in Malchus. Dalet stands for Dibur, speech. You're before davening or after davening? After davening. So Dalet is Dibur, is speech, and Malchus is speech. So there's 2 Dalets. There's the Dalet of Echad, which is a big Dalet, and there's the Dalet of Voed, which is a small Dalet. You now explain. The Dalet of Echad is Hashem's speech, Malchus, as it's in Atzilus. So in Malchus the Chachma. And in general, all of Atzilus, all of the spheres of Atzilus are dominated by Chachma, which means they're all in a state of complete bittul, relative to Biyah. Shari'ah B'Yilah, Mekanan of Atzilus, the supernal Abba rests in Atzilus. That means, Yeah. Yeah. There's a few copies, page 33. There's a few copies. Up there should be some still. So, no, the end of Ois Hey. I'm sorry. No, we're talking about the letter Dalet of Echad. All right. So Abba Ilah Mekanan of Atzilus. Bina is Mekanana in Bria and so on. What dominates Atzilus is Chachma, what dominates Bria is Bina, what dominates Yitzira is Zoh, and so on. So therefore, Valachein, Dalet Rabsi, therefore it's a large Dalet. Now the large Dalet means, normally big means independence, it's the opposite here. Here, large means because it's reflective of the largeness, if you like, the infiniteness of Alikus. And this is Echad in general. We've gone through the Aleph, we've gone through the Ches, Shekoila Atzilus, we explained it on all of its subtleties, and in general, it's a reference to Atzilus, Eilam Va'achtus. B'chinas Echad. For who, and Echad is the Memutze, Sheyumshach Menachal Kach B'chinas Vod B'Biyah. As we're explaining, that the Echad of it is the Memutze, as we just said earlier, the intermediary between Yochid, the exclusivity of Elikus, that truth and creation beyond. Now it gets subtle, as this Maamar is doing. It's Bechalolos. So follow along. Ois Vav. B'tevas Voed. So the word Voed, Boim Gimel Ois is the Echad B'chilufi Asra. So we pointed out earlier from Shara Yichud, from the Zohar, that Voed is really Echad, but in the interchange or the exchange of letters. There's a whole system. Aleph Shabbatevas Echad, Maaseh Vav, the Tevas Voed. Aleph and Vav are interchangeable because they belong to the same group of letters called Oisius HaHemshech. When placed at the end of the word, they extend the word, but they don't change it fundamentally. So Aleph and Vav are one group. Shei Aleph Mischalef Bevav. Now he adds, it doesn't elaborate, but he adds the following. It's not simply a grammar thing. Because they belong in the same group, so therefore we can exchange them. It's more than that. So the pasuk says in Yeshaya, b'chol tzarosim, and all of their sorrow, lo yitzor, he is not sorrowful, which means Hashem is beyond effect. Nothing that happens here affects Hashem. That's the way it's written. Loi ba'alef. It's written loy with an aleph, but loy bevav kri. He said in the morning. We say when you say tachan right after the Akedah, we bring this pasuk, and you'll see there that it's written with a vav, because we read it with a vav, which has an opposite meaning. In fact, the chol tzarosam loy tzar now means in all of their tzara he is. So what Chassidus explains that it's an absolute contradiction between the ksiv and the kri, the way it's written, the way kri means where we summon it forth, the way we read it. And the answer is that's the whole point here, that even though the aleph b'chal goes on chachma, pele, all the transcendent levels of elikus, and we would therefore assume logically and naturally that Hashem is not affected. So the chiddush is that even the Eibishter, as he is transcendent, is loitzor, he's affected by us. That's the lamed with the vav. Now what that means is, he goes on to say, vav, the tevas voed. So the vav, the aleph, right, the aleph and the vav are interchanging. So the aleph of Echad we learned already was chachma datzilus. But the vav of tevas voed, the b'chinas chachma shebabiyah. It's also chachma, but as chachma descends into biyah. Okay, we'll revisit that presently. But that was clear. Yeah? They're both chachma. Chachma datzilus and chachma biyah. As we'll see presently, the aleph becomes the vav, or the vav is the amshacha of the aleph, as in the ksiv and kri. The kri draws out the ksiv. Now, ayin, the voed, nimshach me'aches the echad. Now, the ayin of the word voed, so that comes from the chesed echad. The ches mischalef ba'ayin. The ches and the ayin are interchangeable because both belong to another grouping of letters, guttural letters that we say with the back of the larynx, whatever it is there. The ayin is really sound, not from the front, but from the back. Now here too it's chachma. What's the connection? Obviously the ches is chachma, as we learned, barichas. First, what stands for chachma. Secondly, we explained that ches is chachma gluya. What about ayin? So the chachamim are called the eyes of the community. Ayin means an eye. So the intellectual eye. Shezel b'chinas chachma, that's chachma. But ella shezel b'chinas chitzonis hachachma. Here we're talking about taka chachma, but an external level relative to chachma itself. What does this mean? It gives a motion. Like a teacher that would teach his student language. Why is he teaching him language? It's a means. He wants to teach him a concept. The concept is taught in a particular language. So as a preparatory process, he teaches him the language. But the kavanah of the language is merely to be the means by which to grasp the idea that's conveyed in that particular language. So is it part of the learning process? It is, but it's chitzonius. That's not the inyan here. It's the keli for the seichel. The hainu, the kid, which bechinas void to the biyah. So void is already biyah. What's biyah? Biyah again is the origin of self of mitzius. You need the biyah. You have shali. Some shach bechinas chacham k'meish batzilus. You can't experience the bittul as in atzilus. It's bittul ayesh. It's a chitzonius dikim bittul. But the chachma, which is bittul, that's what it means. We explained yesterday, right? So the experience in biyah is only an external experience of bittul relative to the pnimis dikim bittul of atzilus. So therefore, the ayin is also chachma, but relative to the ches, it's chitzonius. Ches is chachma gluya. Aleph is the chachma at the beginning, but it's all atzilus. And now comes the question and the nuance. We're clear. Yeah. So we have to understand the following distinction here. Why is it that B'chinas Havav shenimshech meya Aleph ein inyan shel chiluf? As we said before, I mentioned because it's coming later, that the vav avoid that's drawn from the Aleph, it's not an exchange letter. The pshat is that the Aleph is nimshech. Aleph itself is being drawn into biyah. Aleph meaning the highest level of chachma. So already we got a question. We just said before that it can't be. That's why the ches is ayin, but Aleph does. The Aleph is nimshech in biyah, but the ches is not. It's got to be exchanged for chitzonius, replaced with ayin. That's where he's going with the question. Vav means being mamshich, something from higher to lower. So what's being nimshich here? The Aleph is being nimshich of atzilus, is being nimshich in biyah. That very level itself is drawn down. So the question is, we said that Aleph is pnimis hachach, and ches is chitzonius, and you move it. So it's not understood. Like Aleph, the deeper level, the pnimis hachachma. Yeah, that's nimshechas oisa b'china. That's drawn through the vav into biyah. V'laches enya nimshech v'atzmei. But the ches, which is only the chitzonius, which you get the Moishe before of the language, that's not nimshech. A whole new letter. Ayin is a new letter. This is pnimis, and that's chitzonius. So it's an absolute mystery that the higher level, the pnimis, is drawn, as it were, uncompromised. The lower level, the ches has to undergo a radical from pnimis to chitzonius, and that's what's nimshech in biyah. The ches becomes an ayin, but the aleph is drawn into the vav, into biyah. Clear? That's the question. Should be a kolshkein. Madach, the ches has to undergo a radical tzimtzum for sure. The aleph has to. Yeah, question's clear. Yossi.
You said the aleph is not tzilus, so this isn't biyah.
But the vav is mamshich aleph into biyah. That's what vav means. Oisei dover, that thing is being nimshach lamata. Obviously, there's some element here of tzimtzum, but not a radical tzimtzum. You're going from one level to the other. Pnimis to chitzonius. That's not happening. That is happening when it comes to the ches. The ches becomes an ayin, it's a whole new letter. So, how is this possible? The answer is, yes, indeed so. Dafke, the pnimis dike, giloi, which is aleph, can be nimshech and biyah. And dafke, the chitzonius dike giloi of chachma, which is ches, cannot be. It just occurs to me as I'm saying it that in an avodah, just to make this, perhaps I'm suggesting a tangible, a person whose avodah is away from pnimi. In other words, it's not dependent on environment, but a pnimi's avodah. So wherever you put him, he's the same pnimi, and he'll have an effect on his environment, no matter what. But if his whole matzav is being held up by props, as it to whatever degree, it's feeding off the external. So when he's in that environment, it's good. But then when he goes to a lower environment, he needs a whole new props, a whole new setup. The chesed is going to go to ayin in order to sustain his level. So that's the chiddush. The chiddush is a dafke because Aleph is the pnimius of Elikos, it's nimshach in biyah, and can bring about the whole revelation and revolution in biyah. The biyah should know the emes of Enyan Mulvali. That's in the Kudah here. Let's see the words of the Maamar. And this is the point. It's not what it says in Zohar. He grasps all the worlds. So he grasps them, but none can grasp him. What is the meaning? So this very level of Elikus that is beyond definition, that no entity can grasp, this level is present and grasps, is there in a pnimius dika way. Tafis means the pnimius. B'chul almin, in all of the worlds. Let's examine that a little bit. The Pirish Tfisa b'chinas soivev, when we say the same words are applied, that Memala Kal Almin is manifest in the way of Tfisa, and so is soivev, but it's not the same. The Pirish Tfisa B'Elam Mamalu, when we talk about Elam Mamalu being grasped by creation and grasping creation, so there we mean there's a compromise to Mamalu. Each creation that it's invested in, and the lower the creation, so the more limited is the investment. So there's all these levels and changes. This is the ches and the ayin. The Malak Al-Alman gets down, as it were, and is invested in creation, each one according to their level. There's many levels to Malak Al-Alman. In the higher elements, so the very oil itself is illuminates. As we go down, it's merely a reflection of and then a reflection of a reflection. And finally, a mirror or a glimmer of a glimmer of a glimmer. All to say, the Malak Al-Alman is nitvis, it changes, undergoes changes, it's invested in creation and adapts to creation. Each level of creation according to its level. That's what tfisa means there in the most hardcore sense. But Seviv Kal Almin, that Eibish's infinite revelation, cannot be compromised at all. He remains in his essential truth, uncompromised in all of present in all of creation. Seviv Kal Almin does not mean chas v'sholem, it's an outer space. It's present, but not nitvis in the same way. But it's still called tfisa because of his presentness. And as he is in his uncompromising truth, he is present at all of the worlds equally. Heaven and earth, I feel. Shani mamish. Shua atzmos. Here, Seviv is equating with atzmos. Nimtze b'shamayim ve'aretz b'shaveh. Is present in heaven and earth, the highest levels, Atzilis and Aretz, and the lower levels equally. So this is also a kind of a tfisa, but a different grasp. He grasps all the worlds. So this is a level of he, which is be'etzem higher than being tfisa means grasp, contained. The less machshava tfisa beiklal, no thought can grasp him. So nothing can grasp him, but he grasps everything. Nothing is containing him, but he is grasping present in all of creation. Only he, it's not a two-way street. Hu atzmei taf is bekula almi b'shaveh. He grasps all worlds equally, and they are all equally within his essential being. What do these complex words mean? He means, but the Eibishter is everywhere and fully present and fully engaged. Never then, it's from his perspective only, not from ours. What we can grasp and appreciate in a conscious way is from Malak al-Almin, and each level of creation on its level. But it says in Chassidus, Shem Shamayim Shogeh B'Fikoil, that everybody, says Jew, Havdil, not Jew, God is just an instinctual. You don't have to teach a child that there's an Eibishter. We spoke about this many times. You would think that the one subject you don't talk to a child about is God. Go explain God. You cannot. So later becomes an intelligent, thinking being. We can start talking about creator and design. It's not the case. On the contrary, the child understands it much more instinctually. That's because Atzmus is present. This is Iyu Tov is B'chula Almin. Because it's a Shamayim Vezrotz Ani Mole, then this instinctual, natural, not tfisa way. It's in the most childish way. Eibishter. And there's absolutely no concept, language, words at all. And the younger the child, the purer it is. That's the... Well, from the Arizal, later Mukabolim. The person should daven Lada Zeh Tinuk. We don't have the kavanas and so on. We would dafka want to daven like this child or this ish pashut. That when he says out to Eibush, there's no chachmas. Literally, it's high chachma of any kind. It's the Eibush. So that's what he's saying over here. So the aleph, which carries the pnimius of a likus, this is the first level of the memutza, which carries the atzmas ein sof lamata. That's b'kol almin. So the aleph becomes the vav. What that means is there's no change here. The Eibush says nimshach lamata. The aleph, the loy with an aleph is the loy with the vav. It's the same word. It's the same word, because atzmas is everywhere, and therefore his presence is naturally and instinctually higher than any kind of intellectual process connected to. In the words of the Maamar, now we'll understand also the difference between a hefesh shebein aleph leches, the difference between the aleph and ches. The bechinas ches. So ches, we said, is what the low level of chachma in Atzilus, talking chachma gluya. The Yosef B'tzir Nakuda here already is the classic chachma, where there's an akuda, and in the nakuda latently is all the pratim. It's like a klal. How the mitzuyu mugba will get a tfisa here already. So the ches, because it's already not the pnimis of a likus mamash, it's already some compromise here. Already latent in the ches is the way the makabel is going to understand it and extract and analyze and express it in oisius, etc. So that's taka not nimshach b'tarosa lamata. Harimitsuyu mugbul begeda tvisa. So here already is some kind of limitation in chachma gluya. V'lachin ef sheshiyumshach lebya k'meisha b'pnim yusay. Just poshet the way the Rav understands the seichel in his mind that can't be nimshach lamata. It's not shaykh. He's got a moshel, and only the chitzonius can be given over. So therefore the ches, dafka, because it's not the etzem, and it has some kind of geder, therefore it's only relegated to its world, and the lower world can't know this. Beyond it completely, beyond its ken. So the ches becomes an aleph. It's a whole process of tzimtzum, a whole new letter, a whole change. But since the aleph is a pnimius, the aleph is beyond all kind of definition. In other words, the aleph of echad, that's the whole point, is the memutza. The aleph of echad carries fundamentally through the emes of atzmus and mahos. Therefore, that truth is carried in biyah, shozering in havov. That's the vav, that the aleph itself is nimshach. What did I say? The ches becomes an ayin, yeah. A little bit further, we should stop here. Okay, we'll tell today's story. I'd like to finish the Maamar the next day or two, and then begin. There's two Maamarim still. There's a Maamar There's a Maimir here from Shabbos Chol Meitzukis, very short. And the Maimir of Simchas Torah. Or was it Shabbos Bereshis?
There is no rush.
It's no rush, but the Yetzer Hara wants to be current. You want to go into Simchas Torah with what is
better understand this mimer properly and to run and make and feel good. And the reality is that people don't do chazar themselves. That's the reality.
We will explain it. Mitzvah Shem is about to understand it. There's the tape that you can hear it. Where is the? Well, there's no Maimir Simchas Torah. Impossible. Huh? Vaanshei Maaseh. No, it was no Maimir Simchas Torah. Oh, that's because it was 3-day Yom Tov. Looks like no. Efshar. So it was Maimir Shabbos Bereshis. Okay.